Hey now, yeah, good morning, PSW staff, clients, friends, joining us for Film Scoring Monday class. Welcome, thanks for tuning in. Hope you guys had a great weekend. Great weekend. Uh, Friday we looked at the great film scoring results, your great results for James Cameron's Titanic, so that was so much fun, so terrific. We're going to continue in the adventure realm a little bit, in the fantasy adventure realm. Just because I think it's fun for the kids and it's fun for us. So we're going to be looking at a movie, by this. I mean, now we make superhero movies all the time. Probably every other week there's a new superhero movie. Back in the 70s, it was just starting to really take off. So I don't know if we have to blame the 70s for that or whatever, but it's a pretty good film. Today we're going to be looking at the 1978 film Superman. Superman, the Man of Steel, which was my nickname in college, actually. But we mostly know the story, right? I mean, Krypton's about to be destroyed, this planet, and so Marlon Brando, his dad, for the most part, sends his son to Earth on a spaceship, and he's raised by very kind farmers, and then he discovers that he has this source of superhuman powers. And he moves to Metropolis, which is New York City, pretty much, and to fight evil, and to fight Lex Luthor, who is wonderfully played by Gene Hackman. While Superman's a novice reporter, Clark Kent. We all know that he has the two identities, and he is very fancied with Margot Kidder's character, Lois Lane. So first Superman was in 1938, so this wasn't a new story for them. Great cast: Christopher Reeve, Marlon Brando, Gene Hackman, Margot Kidder. Like most stories, they didn't want Christopher Reeve. He wasn't really anybody by then. I mean, he had done some great work, great theater work too. No, they wanted Robert Redford. They offered him a ton of money. They wanted Burt Reynolds, turned down the role. Sylvester Stallone was interested, but didn't work out. Bruce Jenner auditioned for the title role too. But the casting director, Lynn Stallmaster, said, okay, let's try this guy, Christopher Reeve. And the director, Richard Donner, thought, he's kind of too young and skinny, but he bulked up for this. Richard Donner directed it. He's great action director. Just right before this, he had finished The Omen, and then directed The Goonies in 1985, and then the Lethal Weapon film series. So, very accomplished, great director. And of course, the music's composed by who's the best film composer living, at least, or probably maybe the best, even if he wasn't living, John Williams. We talk about John Williams all the time. He came in at the last minute to write this. After Jerry Goldsmith, there was scheduling conflict with Jerry Goldsmith, and that's fortunate because this is one of John Williams' best scores. It's hard because every movie you say about John Williams, you're like, well, this is probably his best score, but this might be one of his best scores. One of the writers was Mario Puzo on this, which I found kind of random and funny because, of course, he wrote The Godfather. The only parallel I can think of is that Marlon Brando's in this one, but maybe there's, I'm missing probably some other ones. And Brando was paid $14 million just for 10 minutes of screen time. He was a very anal, retentive actor, very stubborn, troubled genius. So that was like the highest paid ever, $14 million for 10 minutes. While, the young Christopher Reeve was paid just $250,000 for both Superman 1 and 2. So 1978, I mean, what's going on? We got some pretty big movies coming out. We got Grease is in 1978. Saturday Night Fever comes out this year. And The Deer Hunter, great film. Superman was the most expensive movie to make up to that date, $55 million in 1978. A lot of money today, but super lot of money back in the 70s. But made $300 million. I mean, this was a huge success. It received praise for his performance and John Williams' score, nominated for 3 Academy Awards. It kind of started, like I said, the mainstream popularity of Hollywood's fascination with superhero films. There's something just very satisfying about a superhero, much like there are about Westerns. That's probably why they made so many Westerns, with Gary Cooper, and even before with John Ford. The history of cinema has always been filled with, Westerns have always been up there. I think maybe superheroes are the new kind of Western, probably because it's the oldest tale of time. There's a villain, and then there's a hero and an underdog, and then somebody that saves the day at the end. I'm not putting it down. It's a very satisfying formula. Time to bring in my free Google map. I think let's go from Titanic, Rosarito Beach in Mexico, where they filmed it, and let's go to Pinewood Studios, which is in Buckinghamshire in England. It's a British film and television studio located there. This is where they filmed most of the Krypton scenes and all the other stuff. And like I said, Jerry Goldsmith was going to score it because he scored Donner's The Omen movie, but scheduling conflicts came, so Williams was hired, and he conducted the London Symphony Orchestra to record this soundtrack. There's been not controversies, but discussions about John Williams borrowing a lot from the composers, but as we know, people borrow all the time. If you don't borrow or steal, then I just read last night, Salvador Dali said something like, then you're not creating anything. If you're not borrowing something, then you're not doing anything. It's kind of an interesting philosophy, and I'm not saying that right, but you get the idea. So in this score, John Williams is borrowing a lot of elements from Korngold. Korngold was a very famous Austrian-born composer, classical composer that came to Hollywood because of the war, and a child prodigy, and became one of the most important filmmakers, Wolfgang Korngold. Errol Flynn and Korngold, Errol Flynn, the actor, they created a lot of films together, and The Adventures of Robin Hood is probably the most famous, but for Korngold's score. But he's not using that score. He's borrowing elements of King's Row, which was a 1942 film, starring Ronald Reagan, the old president. Let's listen to Korngold's score for King's Row, just the beginning. See if you hear any similarities. You can kind of hear it, right? I mean, I know we haven't heard the Superman theme yet, but I mean, I assume everyone has heard that theme. A lot of similarities. The brass, the trumpets. It's not the same score, but definitely it's cool to see how John Williams was inspired by a classical film composer like Korngold. John Williams does what he's great at, doing leitmotifs. We know leitmotifs, of course, because we did the Wagner class. Wagner kind of was the founder. They did the leitmotifs the best, which is a reoccurring theme when something occurs. So if a villain occurs in a scene, the villain's theme plays. He does that all the time in Star Wars. If a hero appears it's a very simple formula that the audience subconsciously just adapts to, where, this is how we're supposed to feel because we hear this music now. The lovers embrace, there's a lover's theme. It's a great formula, and Williams is doing that, obviously, in Superman. I don't know, let's just hear the Superman theme real quick before we listen, before we watch the scene. Sounds really American. I I know that sounds general to say. Why does it sound American? Well, he's also going back to Aaron Copland. Aaron Copland's a composer we're going to do, because I wrote it down on my piece of paper of people we're going to get to. But we've talked about Aaron Copland and Richard Rodgers' influence of Oklahoma. Aaron Copland's a classical composer, American composer, huge. Copland, Bernstein, they love Charles Ives music. And as we talked about, Wagner and all the other composers we've talked about, we're all Western European composers. Charles Ives, Scott Joplin, Aaron Copland, they're American composers. And they, of course, are borrowing from European composers, but really they're creating true American music, while we also have black Dixieland jazz music going on. So America's getting their own original music too. So listen to Copland's Fanfare for the Common Man, which was actually written in 1942, the same year as King's Row. Listen to the trumpets and the brass in this. Somehow, this sounds American too, doesn't it? And there's similarities with the Superman theme. I guess because of the trumpets and the brass, but also harmonically, there's something very pure about these intervals, about these motifs that kind of tell you that something heroic and exciting is about to happen. So let's look at your scene. This is the very famous helicopter scene. Where Lois Lane, is a reporter and gets into a helicopter, and it spins out of control. And you guessed it, Superman saves her. So let's look at that little section of the movie. That's pretty cool.
Excuse me. That's a bad outfit. Okay, Breslau, move these people. God, look up there. What the hell is that? Easy, miss. I've got you.
You've got me? Who's got you? I can't believe it. I just cannot believe it. He got her.
pretty amazing scene. I mean, this is before special effects, CGI, so, but boy, what makes it, I mean, even more amazing is the music. It's like Jaws, you know, if you have a rubber shark, no one's going to be scared. If you have music and a rubber shark, okay, it's a little scary. If you have a guy in tights flying, it could sound ridiculous, but with a professional sounding score that's full of just brilliance, you start believing in the magic, you know? There's something about the magic that you just kind of are like, okay, I'm sucked in, and the music score does that completely well. Richard Donner, it was kind of his idea, because Superman was just going to save Lois, but he was like, well, what if he actually saves the helicopter too, not only just Lois? So that was a nice little touch. I mean, might as well just go over the top of this, right? All right, well, let's look at your scene without the music. Scary scene, but I mean, with the wrong music, could look like you know, an SNL parody or something kind of campy, which is okay. But I mean, camp doesn't make that as much money as a true adventure, you know, unless you're Rocky Horror or something like that. But here's the assignment. So you're going to score this, but there's a caveat. This is going to be a little bit tougher. I'm saying this with peace and love. You cannot use any John Williams music from another soundtrack, from any of his other scores or anything like that. We're gonna find another action theme, another composer. There's tons out there. I don't hear a song, I don't hear lyrics. So you know the drill. This is a serious, even though it's, you know, it's fun and action-y, she could die. There's a lot of skin in this game. She could die, the helicopter could destroy New York City. Or, you know, that city block for sure. So there's got to be we got to get our adventure thinking caps on, and see if you can come up with something melodic like John Williams did, but don't use the John Williams score. I know it's very tempting to go to Star Wars and just say, okay, well, Star Wars is going to fit, and it probably could fit, but we're not playing that game. You guys are too good for that. We can think outside the box and find something else that's going to be exciting and everything. So, okay, love you, miss you. Get the results in to me by Tuesday, by tomorrow, and we're going to see them Friday. I have a feeling we're going to make this a great week, so I'm very much looking forward to diving in. Okay, said too much already, so I better get out of here. Okay, see you tomorrow.